basement of the museum in our collection storage. And we're going to be talking about ice. For many of us, going to the refrigerator for a cold beverage or a pint of ice cream is as natural as breathing. Not too long ago, those things were not possible. Many had to go to the ice box. A literal block of ice kept their perishables, such as meat and milk or other dairy products, from spoiling. Here we have an ice box to demonstrate for you. The Iceman would come and measure the box and put the block of ice right there. And all of those perishables, the meat and the milk and things like that, could go on this side. The ice would melt and drip through and land in a drain in the back of the box, and underneath there would be a pan that would be emptied out when it was full. And then the block of ice would be replaced. So where did that block of ice come from? Let's find out. In 1869, when Elko was just beginning, as a convenience to the businesses and townfolk, ice harvesting was established for the preservation of meat and other goods that could not be stored in a cellar. There is little written of those early businesses, but like every good business, they advertised in the local newspapers. On July 31st, 1869, the Elko Independent advertised for the ice depot, located on the west side of this street. The ad read, "We'll ship ice to any point on the railroad." There were other ways the companies could advertise too. For instance, on the side of a wagon, or by purchasing a reminder card that could be hung next to the calendar with prices and delivery dates printed on it. Chris Eshleman used this ice pick as a premium giveaway to advertise for his company. Chris Eshleman married Lena Lebersky of Lamoille in 1903. The 1920 census lists Chris and Lena Eshleman as residents of Elko, Nevada. His occupation was shown as Iceman. They lived at 922 Idaho Street and had no children. He established the Eshleman Ice Company sometime between 1903 and 1913. The museum has invoices that are dated 1913. These present evidence of a possible expansion to the business and the purchasing of animal feed. In 1923, Chris Eshleman had reached the age of retirement, and having no children to take over the company, he sold it to the Elko Lumber Company. According to two Walther family accounts, George Walther ran the company on behalf of Elko Lumber. He resided at the property of 1246 River Street. These manuscripts give us a glimpse into the life of an Iceman. Each year, the start of the ice harvest was announced in the newspapers. It lasted about a month. By then, the ice house would be full, and they could begin to fill the private ice houses around town. The ice business was a year-round job. Spring and summer were spent cleaning the riverbed and making deliveries. Every precaution was taken to ensure the sanitary condition of the ice. Fall was spent preparing the empty ice house to hold the next harvest, which would begin again in winter. When the preparation of the ice began, it would be scored in a straight line across the ice pond. Next, using that first line as a guide, deep grooves were cut first in one direction, then the other. After that, men with iron pikes would break the ice into the blocks, which would be floated to the chute leading to the ice house. Once there were 8 or 10 blocks lined up at the bottom of the chute, a hook was placed on the last block with a rope tied to it. The rope fed into a pulley system inside the ice house, then back out to a team of horses. The horses would pull the rope, forcing the blocks into the ice house, where a crew of men would arrange them in neat layers. The ice was insulated on all sides with several feet of hay or sawdust to prevent melting. It took a crew of 30 men to accomplish the harvest. In the early years, all the ice cutting was done with hand saws. Later, a gas saw was used. A crew of 5 men made all the deliveries throughout the summer. Children loved to help the Iceman. He never refused them a chunk of ice to suck on. They would hop on the back of his wagon and ride along until their mothers called them home. The 200-pound cakes of ice were loaded onto the wagon. As the delivery man went from house to house, he would measure the ice box, then cut the ice accordingly. The smaller block was taken into the house and placed inside the box. For the delivery man, a locked door was a rare thing to encounter. The iceman would knock on the door, and if no one answered, they went inside, did their job, and left. Payment was made by leaving loose change on the table, or by using a charge account, which was paid at the end of each month. During the summers when the Elko ice houses ran empty, ice was brought in from the Carlin Ice operation. Carlin's business partnered with the Pacific Fruit Company out of California to provide ice for cold storage railroad cars, and ice for the passengers to use in their drinks. Cold storage cars made it possible to ship meat and other perishables much farther along the rail. The train could go about 250 miles before refilling the ice in these cars. Carlin was chosen for its equal distance between Sparks, Nevada and Ogden, Utah. The Carlin operation would harvest close to 500,000 cakes of ice weighing approximately 200 pounds each in one harvesting season. All the hotels, grocery stores, bars, and meat markets had large walk-in ice boxes. These businesses, as well as the brothels, were a part of the regular year-round delivery route the iceman would take. The various ranches between Elko, Carlin, and Wells had their own ice sheds, so they spent a portion of their winters cutting ice on their ponds or the river. On a side note, there were times when competition would arise between two ice companies. For instance, the Elko Transfer Company's artificial ice and Eshleman's ice company were in such an intense competition that the FDA did an inspection to determine which company had the most pure ice. It was proven that river ice was just as clean and free of impurities as the artificial or machine-made ice. In 1945, mass production of the electric refrigerator made it possible for most people to own one, but there were still some who used the old ice box. The Eshleman Ice Company and others like it closed and became a memory. Remnants of the ice pond can still be seen today. Perhaps you've driven over the 12th Street Bridge this winter and seen some of Elko's residents playing hockey or just skating on the pond. Today, the Igloo Rec Center provides icy opportunities for members of our community, from family open skate times to hockey teams. That's all we have for today. Tune in next time to find out about more inside the museum.